Good evening and welcome. I'm Hailey Coxon and this is the Spirit of Motorsport TV. Welcome to the show this evening. Thank you so much for your patience. Boy, have we had some technical issues this evening, but thank you for bearing with us. We really appreciate your patience and your loyalty to us as well. We have the great Roy Moore and Barry Wood in tonight for episode 3 of Mountain Memories. Now, we have had some issues with the technical side, as I mentioned. So we've got Mick in the background and we've also got Kenny joining us from the Wirral. Now, unfortunately, Mick does have some audio issues, but he's still there. He still can wave at you and join in the conversation in the chat. And thank you so many of you who already commented and some great little banter starting, some great conversations starting there already. Remember, you can interact with us. This is an opportunity for you to fire your questions at the guests, whether it be Roy, Barry, or Kenny, and Mick, of course. So thanks again for your comments so far. We have Carl Arthur saying Kenny's broke down in the pits. We've got John Kashirski says, I've been trying to research these two and I found some information on Mick. Good evening from Carl. Pat Slynn says, good evening, gentlemen, and no doubt some ladies. Hello, Pat. We look forward to you joining us in the studio as well. We have Anthony Adams saying Kenny still sat in the passenger side of the sidecar waiting for the rider. Richard Stanmore says, how much makeup does Kenny need? It's taking ages. He doesn't need anything at all. How rude. Ian Kermo says, hello, everyone. Jan Kashirski says, good afternoon from Missouri, USA. Pete Forsyth said, good evening, everyone from Banbridge, Northern Ireland. Good evening to you, Pete. And good evening to Helen Gibson from a stormy Isle of Man. Tonight's practice cancelled. Ian Pert says, good evening from soggy Scotland. Good evening, everyone. Philip Nelms, please keep your comments coming through. Gail Kaur, great to see good friends Mick, Kenny, and Christine. I knew Mick would have been the hold-up. Miss you all. All right, everyone. Well, without further ado, let's bring everybody in, shall we? We've got, first of all, Mr. Roy Moore and Barry Wood joining us for their Mountain Memories, episode 3. Good evening, boys.
Evening, campers. Evening, campers, as they would say in a Manx Grand Prix. They were all up Milcrease and some had to come up in the van. That would be one thing. And then Barry was telling us about...
It was like getting on the line and then all of a sudden there's a half-hour delay and you go back down and then right on the road now and you get up on the road and then there's another delay. But let's go.
Fantastic. The anticipation was killing me. So yeah, boys, you asked for Mick and Kenny to be invited on the show. You know, you're fans of them, fans of their riding. They've obviously you guys go way back over in their careers, and not just their careers now, obviously with the guys heading out into the road races as fans now, as well as spectators, now that they're not racing themselves. So the wonderful Christine, Kenny's wife, has helped getting set up. Now he likes to go racing with Mick as well, as you mentioned. Sure. So the boys will be chatting with us and we have some pictures to join in the show as well. So tell us a little bit why, Barry, you want to invite these boys on.
Well, first of all, both these names are from my era, growing up in the 70s as a TT fan. So Mick Chatterton and Kenny Arthur are two of the great names of the time. I know Mick quite well. I actually got Mick's autograph in 1971, hanging onto his knee as he walked down for a cup of coffee. He had to wait 30 seconds to look after me and sign my book. But we've been spending a lot of time in Ireland the last sort of years. We've spent a lot of time yapping in the paddock, and we also spent a lot of time yapping in the various pubs around Skerries and stuff like that. So, and he knows what he's talking about. So I wanted him on. He would have a lot of stories to tell. And because I knew Mick and Kenny were very great friends, it seemed common sense to ask the two of them to come together. And what Kenny's done in sidecar racing is absolutely legendary. And I can remember him many a times. I got his autograph too. So that was the plan. And we've got Kenny anyway, and we'll see how it goes. You know, sort of people we want, the sort of era we want, really, you know. You reckon, Roy?
Yeah, it is. Again, from my point of view, Mick is one of the ones who have put an awful lot back into racing after he's kind of retired and finished. and you'll find him most times up at the old 38th milestone, up there behind the grandstand, helping out with Francis Thorpe and just being generally available. I know he has a bit of a feeling for Manx accents, and I think we qualify in that point, both of us. But with Kenny, I didn't really, it was a period of my time, I think I've explained this before, where it was in the early days of my working career, when you go back a little bit further into the late 60s, you had to work for a living, and there was no such thing as taking a week off. We've trolled over the ground about how it was difficult and this, that, and the other. But you remembered it all. And certainly Kenny Arthur was just one of those people that instantly sprung to mind, to have competed with the people alongside him that he did and ran the mountain course. It's just one of those things that you couldn't miss up on the opportunity. Unfortunately, it's gone, in technical terms, tits up, as they say. But at the same time, I don't think the clerk of the course would use that if he was talking to the crowd. But what we felt as though would be the case is there'd be an awful lot of people out there who would love to put a question forward to both of them. We can kind of raffle our way through and talk rubbish and talk about a few photographs. But to get actually through to the main men is just a delight. I think we've talked before that how many times of all the top men can you ask questions of? They've answered every possible conceivable question. And we wanted a challenge for us to maybe ask a few questions, and certainly for the boys to come back to us with the answers. And that's why we were kind of looking for these type of people. Want the questions from the audience. And then once you get underway, you're flying.
Well, the other thing too, of course, is that we haven't maybe had as many sidecar celebrities as we would like to have. So this is a good opportunity to get a few of our sidecar friends involved. A lot of people did say to me, if Kenny Arthur's on, I will be tuning in without any doubt whatsoever. So if anybody has any questions for Kenny, certainly he deserves to answer them.
Absolutely. Do remember then, get your questions prepared, everybody, and put them in the chat, and I will do my very best to pass them over and share them with the boys. So before we do invite Mr. Kenny Arthur on, we're just going to touch on Mick a little bit more. I know he can't get involved in the chat because he's got audio issues, but we have to touch on what he achieved in his career. It sounds like the TT was really his spiritual home. He seems to be obsessed with it from a very young age. It was over 40 years he was coming to Isle of Man to race, wasn't he, Barry?
Oh, but more than that, probably. I think, Mick, without embarrassing Mick, I think Mick's first Manx Grand Prix was when I was about 1 year old. I think when they brought the lightweight race into the Manx in 1964, Mick took part in that first race.
Yeah.
And right. He had a few years in the Manx. Then he was in the TT. Now, he's always predominantly two strokes. That was a rare rarity. He had an El Norton at one time. That's what he's saying. He's predominantly a two-stroke man, and you get a picture of him on a Norton. But he was predominantly a two-stroke man all through his career. I know he had that bike. I know he rode a Triumph Daytona, I think it was, a Works Triumph Daytona for the old motorcycle mechanics. That's the one. I'm an avid reader of old motorcycle mechanics, and I've got this. Not this picture, but I've got the story about all what happened and how he prepared the bike. I think Mick got 6th place in that. I've read it dozens of times, and would it be nice to hear Mick's version on that as well? But very, very interesting stuff. And then, of course, he was up at the sharp end in the late 60s, early 70s. Mick, he was a regular top 6, top 10 man with the top riders of the time. I think he was up in the top 2 or 3 or 4 in the Southern 100 when it was a British championship round in 1969, which is a big race to be involved in. And always there, and even in the last 10, 12, 15 years, still racing regularly in Ireland on his 125. I don't know if he would be now, with all respects, but he was always about. There's the man himself.
There's the man. An awful lot of machinery as well, and yeah, certainly from those early days, 64, there wasn't a great deal of choice really about. And then yeah, for somebody who's come through all those eras, it's interesting to learn from the men themselves who rode them, what the reaction was, how they handled. There was no technology in those days. You didn't plug a computer in. In fact, if you wanted to find out how it was running, you had to kind of give it a handful and then take the plug out and have a look at it to see what colour it was. And
We're just sorry, Roy. Mick's just trying to get involved in the chat. He's trying to let you boys know that he was 4 times in the top 6, Barry.
Right, so I wasn't too bad, and I was quite close with that. Yeah.
Brilliant. So we'll have to bring him back, won't we, boys? We'll have to invite him back. We'll have to get Mick back on and contribute and do a show on Mick and some of his stories, because he's had decades of racing around the Isle of Man as well as the GP circuits as well. But he then went on to get involved with the TT Riders Association. So that was the last picture.
Yeah.
So how long was he doing that position, that role for?
That's just one
just
year.
One year.
They do for 1 year, and then they have another one. There's been a whole line of great riders who have done that job.
You know who it is this year?
Who is it this year?
President is Ben Birchall.
Oh, yes.
That's the sidecar rider around the TT.
Fantastic.
Yeah, it's a bit disappointing, I suppose, when one part of a partnership gets chosen to take the top honour. I don't know whether there's been any other. You would think back and think that there must have been another sidecar driver who had the honour, but maybe for that one occasion they could put it down as a combination.
6 months each.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. So we've got some comments, boys. We've got lots of people getting involved in the chat. We've got David Patterson says, Kenny, what do you think Jock Taylor, we'll bring that back to Kenny, Jock Taylor and Benga would have achieved both from a TT and World Championship perspective? Also, Mick, what is your favourite course to ride? Mick, if you could answer that in the chat, that'd be amazing. What's your favourite course to ride? Lenny Ritchie says, good evening, Roy, Barry and Hailey. And Helen Gibson says, so glad to have a sidecar star on here. Kenny is a legend. Agreed, Helen. Roger Barnes says, Kenny, has spoken to many passengers. How did you treat and find the stretch from Ginger Hall to Ramsey? Most told me to head down and leave it to the driver. Roger, we will definitely come back to that. Kenny will be listening. Brilliant. Gail Core says, I think it's 48 years, Mick, been riding at the TT. 48 years, Mick. Wowza. Okay, so he's answered the question. Eric Oliver, Mick Boddice.
Yeah, fair comment. Mick Boddice, I should have realised that, because he's a regular on the Roy and Barry site and puts lovely little bits of information. And one of the family connections, really, isn't it? The Boddice family, the Hanks, and certainly Mick, his son as well, has been a competitor round. Eric Oliver, there won't be too many on there that will remember him, but he was a flyer, TT winner around the Clips course. And Helen is listening, and he was passengered by Stan Dibben when they came back to the mountain course, but unfortunately they were practicing 1960. And the headstock broke on the Norton just past the Guthrie Memorial, and the outfit cartwheeled down into the mountainside, and they were non-starters. I think Helmut Fath went on to win that one, but when the sidecars certainly came back to the TT mountain course, it was a whole revelation, really, wasn't it? And certainly the Norton was up there amongst it, but unfortunately, with that incident, it didn't allow to be Eric Oliver to compete. Eric Oliver actually took Pat Wise round the Clips course in a absolutely standard sidecar outfit, a Watsonian sidecar on a Norton Dominator bike, and I think they finished in 9th position, 10th was it? Yeah. 9th or 10th from on the top of my head. So
Mick has responded here.
Yeah. TT course is his favourite, followed by Dunrod. Very good, thank you. And 38 years, Gail, you rode the course. 38 years, fantastic. Brilliant, great. So we've had lots more comments. We've got great to hear Roy's voice again. Shame it's not live from the Ramsey hairpin. Grant Hollis says, hi all. Anthony Adams says, I remember Rolf Steinhausen at Chris and Kenny's riding around Kenny's back garden on a Honda three-wheeler. Brilliant. All right, shall we invite the man in himself, Mr.
Yeah.
Kenny Arthur? Shall we bring him into the studio? So he's a legend back in the racing days as a sidecar passenger, and in 1977 became the world champion with the late George Odell. And in the same year, they had the TT on their way to the TT win. They were first sidecar pair to lap the TT circuit over 100 miles an hour. Wow, Kenny Arthur, welcome to the studio.
Hey, boy.
How are you this evening?
Good evening.
Hello.
I'm fine, thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate you taking the time out this evening.
It's my pleasure.
As you've seen in the chat then this evening, so many people, they don't get to see many chats on here with the sidecar legends as well, never mind the sidecar races. So we're really grateful you've joined us this evening, and the boys couldn't wait to get you on as well. So we can't wait for you to share some stories. We've got some pictures, but we can just point out behind you, I believe that's your hallway with your trophies dedicated. The hallway's dedicated to you, to your trophies and pictures over the years.
Yes.
Absolutely. You can see in the background there.
Yeah.
Can I just ask you a question, Kenny, to start the ball rolling? Can you hear me all right?
I can hear you, Roy. Yes, go on.
It's Barry.
Right.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Got the names the wrong way around.
Go on. Am I right in saying, Kenny, then that you are certainly the first, but maybe the only passenger to lap the TT course at over the 100 miles an hour in a right-hand chair and a left-hand chair? Is that correct?
Absolutely, yes, it is.
Yeah, that's absolutely an amazing feat, which absolutely does my head in even thinking about it. And to me, it seems a bit like learning to play the guitar and then deciding to learn to play the guitar again with your other hand. You know, what was the most demanding challenge from the right and the left? I mean, obviously you were brought up with a left-hand chair, but to go with Ralph on the other side, how long did it take you to get used to that? Obviously not very long.
He didn't really give me a lot of time to get used to it. I think the first night we went out, we did 96. So
yeah,
and I'd never been around the TT on the right-hand sidecar before. It's a completely different place. You work so many corners that you would normally just lie in for. It's twice, if not more, effort to be on a right-hand sidecar. So how the hell Wolfgang Kellau did 4 laps at 1977, I don't know, because that was a hell of a feat. And won.
Laps, yes, of course. Yeah.
There they are.
Yeah, that's me.
George Odell, yeah.
Yeah.
Somebody mentioned before there about the bumpy section from Ginger Hall to Ramsey.
Yeah.
And left or right-handed. I started work at Ramsey Golf Course in 1974, and on the approach to Schoolhouse Corner, there was a fella came over because you were still contesting World Championship points called Gustav. You remember that name from the past?
Gustav.
Pape. And he just, the thing, you know, we've had many photographs on of outfits going round, and there seemed to be a kind of at that particular time to make them smaller and lower to the ground. And with all the bumps, his front end part of the fairing dug in and tipped him off. They weren't injured, but I can well remember him standing up and complaining bitterly about how he would never come back here because of the bumps.
He did indeed.
So a relative question would be from previous there, which was the bumpiest part, whether you're in the right-hand side or the left-hand side on a complete lap of the mountain course?
Yeah, it was all bumpy, because I can remember the first night we did the 100 mile an hour on the Sulby Straight, and George's knee came out the tray and he ended up kneeling on my back until we got to the smooth bit at the other end at Sulby Bridge, because he couldn't get his knee off my back to get his foot to the brake, you know. So it was bumpy in lots of sections, really. A lot of it, yeah. Millentown Cottage was a bit bumpy. I seem to remember that.
Had a bad reputation years ago, Kenny, for sidecar men. Troncovaly Straight is very rough then as well.
Well, there's not so much suspension movement on a sidecar, so you really feel it, and it can be quite painful.
I'm sure it can. Yeah. Well, the 100 mile an hour lap that you did with George.
Yeah.
I was reading a story a while back. There was a sidecar race, and even up till recent years, Brian Rostron. You know him?
I know Brian Rostron, yeah.
Right.
He moved to the Isle of Man.
Either his son or his grandson is racing now. But the day that you did the 100 mile an hour lap with George, the practice or whatever, Brian lost his passenger up by. He didn't fall out. He stopped. They ran out of fuel, and his passenger got out. And Brian carried on without him. And as he was coming down to Bedstead, Ian Gamble, his name was 100 yards behind, running down, waving his arms. And you and George went through, and the report said that you were pointing to the marshals back up the road, and that was on your 100 mile an hour lap. Do you remember that?
No, I don't know. No.
I didn't think you would. No,
I think I was busy doing something else.
Yeah. Obviously, it's not something you would expect to see, you know. But it did specifically say it was on that very lap that you were gesticulating that there was a passenger running down the road, but the driver was right by us. We were there that day.
Right.
Yeah.
Your mate, Mick Chatterton, has just thrown a question at you. Ask Kenny about the time he started as passenger and finished as driver.
All right. Started as the passenger and finished as the rider. One lap.
One lap.
Yeah, we did. One of the Belgian riders had gone through the hedge and his battery was lying in the road. I was with Bill Curry at the time on the Westlake, and the battery was lying in the road, and with your toes hanging down on the kneeler, it broke two of his toes, the battery. So we stopped up on them. He couldn't change gear then because it was his right foot. So we stopped up on the mountain. He got on the sidecar and I got on the bike and rode it back, and that was in the race.
Oh, fabulous.
They were nearly going to take my license off me. I distinctly remember I had a reprimand, shall we say, from the ACU saying if that should never happen again, it's dangerous. But I don't think there was helicopters or anything in them days, so
no.
Need is must, you know.
Yeah.
So when you got him back to the grandstand, he went off to get the medical treatment, and then you would be obviously out of the race then, were you?
Oh, yeah. He wanted me to carry on and leave him in the sidecar and me keep going. I think I'd have been banned for life.
You wouldn't have been world champion then.
No, I don't think I would. But, yeah, it's all nice memories and, a little story to tell.
So you were actually an early Southern 100 champion, Kenny, as well, yeah?
I was an early...
Southern 100 champion.
I was, yes. Again,
first
time with Charlie Freeman.
When was that, 69? 68, 69?
68. And then with Bill Curry the following year, I think.
Yeah. I think
69. Yeah.
With Bill Curry 1970.
Yeah.
Because up till 1970 in the Southern 100, they didn't have passengers' names in the programme.
Right.
So you didn't know who was passenger. But I knew you were there in 1970.
Yeah.
You and Bill Curry won the championship that year. And I think
we did, yeah.
There was an accident the following year at the Southern. And then was that the only time you did it then, I think, after that? 71?
Yeah, it was, yeah. I think that was the last time I did the Southern 100 when we tipped it upside down at Stadium.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was oil on the circuit and the marshals were a bit slow putting the flag out.
Which outfit was that? Was that the Imp, was it?
No, it was the Imp one that dropped the oil.
Right.
A rider from Scotland, I believe. I remembered him, but I can't remember his name. And we were the next one round. And Peter Williams, I think, was leading on the Imp.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, and we were out trying to catch him. Next minute, we were upside down, and I was on my way to Nobles.
Yeah, I can remember it certainly as a little boy. And Bill Crook as well.
I didn't do the Southern 100 with Bill Crook. I did the TT.
Oh, your first TT then?
First CT was Charlie Freeman.
Charlie Freeman, yeah.
And he sacked me. He said I was rubbish.
A vote of confidence in it.
No, I just didn't get out for one left-hander on the mountain, which I didn't feel was necessary because we're on a 500 Norton, and it just didn't seem to be going fast enough. Anyway, he got me back to the pits and told me to go home. So after that, the rest history.
Yeah, things improved dramatically shortly after that. And I mean,
Pardon?
Things improved big time shortly after that. And
oh, big time, yeah. I went. Well, I started riding. I went with Bill Crook, and I had 4 finishes with Bill. And then I got on with Bill Curry, and unfortunately, we had no finishes because the Westlake just wasn't built to do the TT. I'm afraid.
Right.
Although in one year, Dave Molyneux said, if we'd have carried on with that opening lap, we would have done 100 mile an hour on a 4-stroke, but we blew up at the bungalow.
Really? Yeah.
But we were tramping. I knew how fast we were going quicker because we kept clipping pavements and straw bales and things, and Bill was on it, but
yeah,
you've got to finish the lap.
Yeah, fair comment. Where did it all start for you, Kenny? I mean, did you just drop in with somebody at Aintree and take it from there, or any ambitions? Somebody
talked me into it in the pub local, and he said, you'd make a good passenger because you're light and you're always fit. And I said, well, I don't know what a passenger does. You better. So we went to Alton Park and watched. And I said, yeah, I can do that. That's not a bother. And then we went to New Brighton and we rode in New Brighton.
Oh, there's a classic one, isn't it?
That's a good picture, that.
Oh, that is an absolute gem. Yeah,
spot on. I think that is Assen, is it?
I was going to say, is it Assen? It looks like Assen.
It looks like Assen to me as well. Yeah.
That's that classic corner where they get Reed and Ivy.
That's right.
All that one at the lakes. It must be a good, like the TT course. Some of the shots are very repetitive, but it's only because they can be taken safely and they are good. They know they're going to get a guaranteed action shot.
Yeah.
If I could just share some of the comments with you. You've got lots of fans here, Kenny. You've got Brian Spooner saying, hi, Kenny, looking well. Andy Karush saying, good evening, Kenny. Ken Moran saying, nice to see you, Kenny. So many saying, looking well. Also saying that your cabinet, the picture doesn't do your trophy cabinet justice. Agreed. Well, hopefully Christine is going to do a little show around at the end, just a little bit. Hopefully.
Yeah, she will do, won't you?
That would be fantastic. So John Koshierski says, I bet going through Aggo's Leap is uncomfortable for a passenger, Kenny.
Through Aggo's Leap?
Yeah.
Well, I'm just flat down and probably got my eyes shut by then. You go through the bottom of Bray Hill with a left-hand sidecar, it's no problem. But when you got on a right-hand sidecar with a very fast German like Steinhausen, it was a different ball game. And Aggo's Leap come up very quickly and really just about got in time to have a lie down before I got to Quarterbridge. It was really, really on the music. Then 2-stroke Yamahas, 4-cylinder 750s were really fast. And there wasn't a lot of time to, would you say, think about much. You just had to get on with the job.
Wow. Fantastic. Brian Spooner says, Kenny is a true hero. Bill Davies says, brilliant, Kenny. Carl Arthur says, Ken, did you ever do a race solo?
Oh, yes, I did. And quite by accident. I used to, when I did some work at Bill Smith's shop in Chester, and there was a guy there who raced the 500 Norton, dummy racer. And I used to transport it in my van because he didn't have a van, he only had a car. So we loaded it up on the Friday night and I would go into Anglesey to Mona because the Cheshire Club had a meeting at Mona. And I got a phone call, no mobile phones in them days. It was just a phone call to the house saying, look, I won't be able to make it. And in them days, you could race on the same license as a passenger or a solo rider at club racing. So he said to me, you might as well ride the bike, he said, because it's full of petrol. All you've got to do is change the entry. So I did, and I qualified for the A final. So that was about the only solo event I ever raced in, and I qualified for the A final. So I was quite proud of that.
Great. No interest to go back and do it again if you were quite proud of it?
I didn't really have the money because I couldn't do both. It was expensive enough passengering, you know. In the early days, you paid half the entry fee, half the petrol money, and half of everything, really. So that was enough money for me to shell out, being married and having a mortgage. So getting a free ride on the dummy racer was the icing on the cake, to be honest with you.
Fabulous.
Well, Penny, the year they had the 4-lap sidecar race, was that 76 or 77?
77. That was the Jubilee thing.
Yeah. What way did that work? Did they get 4 laps non-stop, or did they have fuel stops for that race?
Yeah, we had to do a splash and dash, as they call it. We had to put at least a gallon of fuel in, pull in the pit, stop the engine, put a gallon of fuel in, and push off again from a dead engine.
Right.
And, as
so
you know,
you could do 1 and then 3, or 3 and then 1, or whichever.
We did 3 and 1. You could do 2 and 2 or 3 and 1.
And who was that with Joe?
What your strategy was and how much fuel you had to take on. We fortunately could have done the 4 laps on the tank we had on, but you had to stop. It was compulsory. Yes. And as you know, with 2 strokes, once they're hot, they take some starting, so you've got to push them really fast.
Would that be on the outside of the pits at that time, Kenny?
Yes, it was on the outside. Yes, it was. Yeah, when the pits were on the Glencrutchery Road rather than the pit lane.
You'd have to be careful there, wouldn't it, if you were doing, like, if everybody was on different pit strategies?
Yeah, well, you had a marshal. You had a marshal waving you out to give you the all clear.
Yeah.
Once you pushed off.
And with being used to a 3-lap race, all of a sudden for it to be a 4-lap race, how much more physically demanding was that? I suppose if you're at the top of your game, not so bad, but for a lot of people, that would have been hard work, I'm sure.
Yeah, it was hard work. And that's what I said. Wolfgang Kallau did it on a Koenig with Steinhausen and actually won the second race. I think he finished 2nd or 3rd in the first race, and they did 4 laps on a right-hand sidecar. He must have been one hell of a fit man to do that twice in a week. Yeah, it really was. Because when I did it on the right-hand sidecar, wow, it was a different place.
Yeah, that was the only time they did that. Was it just the 1 year? Then they went back to 3 laps again.
Yes, it was the only 1 year they run it over 4 laps. I'm quite surprised that many finished, to be honest with you, because sidecars are renowned for breaking down, weren't they? So,
well, the Koenigs, especially in the early days, took a lot of getting sorted, didn't they?
Yeah,
the Koenigs used to break down a lot, you know, but obviously Ralph got it sorted. But I can remember in the early days, the Koenigs, because of what they were, like diesel outboard engines, they took a lot of sorting out the sidecar outfits.
Yeah, they were very, very temperamental. And Rolf fortunately had a great backup engineering guy in Germany. I later found out when I went to live there, and this guy was really switched on, and he really got them going, you know, along with Rolf, of course, because what they did, they built a refrigeration system into the water system to keep the water cold, because they were outboard engines, basically flat 4-cylinder. 2-stroke, opposed 2 strokes. They built a refrigeration system in to keep the water cold, because they ran better when they were cold rather than when they were hot.
Right, yeah.
And that nobody ever knew that. I didn't know that till I went to live there. And very ingenious what they did.
That is a gem piece of information.
Absolutely, yeah.
I won't many. I bet you there'll be a few standing back and having a sharp intake of breath by your revelation about that. When you look at the thing, you wonder.
Well, they only used to switch it on the last lap, because when the engine was getting very hot, they'd turn this other water system on to cool it down, so that they had cooler water for the last lap. Otherwise, it wouldn't have made it.
On the site that we run, one of the most kind of looked at photographs was Ralph Steinhausen. I don't think it would be maybe the man you're talking about, in the chair at the bottom of Bray Hill. And the fellas who are competing now were even in amazement of it. You know, so low to the ground, kind of an engine absolutely on the peak. And then the passenger heading for the little bit of the parapet, as Barry would call it, on the right-hand side. Yeah, there was like hundreds of people that said, unbelievable how that is. Terrific.
Yeah. Was that the one where they had all three wheels off the ground?
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah. Well, that wasn't Wolfgang.
It wasn't.
But I
No, that was Seb Huber.
Seb Huber, yeah, that's
Seb
right.
Huber.
Yeah.
Well,
That was when all three wheels were off the floor.
When you went on the World Championship trail, big time, were there any of the old type road race courses still going then? Was the old Spa-Francorchamps still in use for sidecars?
No, the Ulster had finished then as a World Championship round, and the TT had finished as a World Championship round. I think the only road race as such was Nürburgring.
Right. So even Belgium was the shorter course by then.
Belgium was the shorter course, yeah. They in Francorchamps they built the new circuit in '79. It opened because I rode with Steinhausen and we won the first ever Grand Prix at the new Francorchamps circuit. Really? And Wieland was second.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah.
How did you react when Wieland started with the controversial stuff, if you can call it that?
Oh well, he was so ahead of his time, and okay, they came up with lots of clever engineering stuff for sidecars, but in a lot of ways he priced it out the market because there was very few people could afford at that particular time when he was doing it to buy them bikes and go racing with that sort of outlay, you know. It was more affordable when it was what is now known as Formula 2. It just became so expensive buying the LCR chassis, and the same as Eric Varnier was the other one. He was the same as man. And Wieland was just head and shoulders technology-wise above everybody else. You know, he just twisted the rules to suit the bike, basically.
Yeah.
It was a bit like Greenwood with the Mini. He had four wheels on it, but the two wheels at the back were so close together, it didn't break the rules.
Yeah. He wasn't all that popular, was he?
No, he wasn't.
The only advantage he had was he did marry a Manx girl.
Did he? Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he married a Manx girl. So
yeah, well,
in 1978 with Jock, and these are overall winners. But Jock had Lewis Ward in the chair most of the time. Did you and Jock get together specifically because he wanted a more experienced passenger for the TT course?
Yes, I was racing with a guy in Switzerland called Hermann Schmidt, and Jock had been to our place, and I'd fixed him up with a new radiator off a Golf at that particular time, which was quite something because it was aluminium radiator. And we were talking about the TT, and I said, I'll be going home because Herman won't be doing the TT. I said, I'm going home, and me and the wife will go to TT for a holiday. And he said, all right. And about another week after he got home, after we'd been to the Italian Grand Prix, I think it was, he rang me up and he said, my passenger won't do the TT. He feels as though I'll be too fast, and because Jock had been over there and done about 30 odd laps on a solo bike,
Right.
and he'd been round in a car. He'd done quite a few laps around the TT to learn it, and the passenger said, "No, I'm not going." He said, "I just don't think I could get my head around it, you know." So he said to me, "Would you consider," because I'd won it the year before in 77. He said to me in 78, he said, "Would you do it with me?" And I said, "No." I said, "I value my life too much." I said, "No." So he said, "Well, look, let's not be too hasty. We'll make a plan that if you think I'm going too fast, you bang my leg and I'll slow down. And then if you think I'm going too slow, bang my leg and go, you know, up it a bit." So we went out in the first practice, and I think we went round about 96, 94, 96. And somebody came to me and said, "You must be crazy to go out with a novice and he's going round that quick." And I said, "Listen, if I thought he was dangerous, I would get off the bike." I said, "And he hasn't been in trouble once."
Mm-hmm.
I said, "If he gets in trouble, I'll tell him so." And we went round the next night, and I think we went round at about 97, close to 98. And the third night we did the 100 mile an hour, and everybody was saying, "Now he's not gonna make the fortnight." Well, didn't he show them all the way home?
Okay. Remember it so well, yeah.
He finished second and third, and we won it overall. I remember one night we were in the practice, and somebody obviously spotted it who was spectating, and we came into the 32nd, which is the 3 lefts before Windy, and he rolled it off, and I hit him like that, and I went, "Nail it," and he just nailed it. And somebody must have been watching, because there was a report in the paper the next day that I told him to go faster. He was going too slow.
Oh, fabulous. Oh, my word. Excellent.
Brilliant.
You know, it was
A very, very steady man. He was a lovely guy.
Mm-hmm.
Really nice young man, you know.
Gents, we've had so many great comments, lots of support. People don't want to switch off. We've got Andy Karish saying, "Bloody hell, I could listen to these memories all night. He might be a bit late tonight." Then we've got Ken Moran saying, "Kenny and me both passengered for Bill Crook on short circuits."
Yeah.
Then we've got Gail Course saying, "Unbelievable, Kenny, some classic shots there. There is this TT stamp with you on it." Ooh, that's a good idea, isn't it?
And a nice picture of the dog here.
Yeah. Carl Arthur says, "Wow, that photo, Kenny. I remember getting stopped on the prom at New Brighton, going quite quick on an Ariel Golden Arrow 2-stroke 250 in the 60s. Erica Latham says, "I wish you all the best, Kenny," from the Lathams. Chris Moffat said, "How do you find the switch from the old 4-strokes to the big multi-cylinder 750 2-strokes? And what changes did you have to make to your technique?" Great question, Chris.
Great question.
The changes I had to make to my technique was to speed them up a bit, because they were that much quicker getting to the corners and in between corners. But no, you really have to hold on tight. The power out of those 750 2-strokes was just amazing. After racing a lot more docile 850 4-stroke Westlake, although Bill Curry, was a very aggressive rider and a very, very, very good rider. When you got on the 2-stroke, it was different. The power came in with a bang, and you really had to hold on tight. And as people know, one time I didn't, and I fell out of Cadwell. But again, I'm still alive to tell the tale.
John Kashirski says, "Kenny, do you follow sidecar racing now?"
I do, yes. I go nearly every year to the TT, but I follow the Founds. Here they live local to us, and I know their dad well, and I know them well now,
Family.
and the whole family. Yeah, and we follow the founders round if ever we can get to the meetings. You know, I still follow them all, and I go to the circuit on Anglesey nearly every meeting. I like T. Croix a lot. I think it's lovely.
Brilliant. We've got Kathy Martin saying, hearing your voice, Roy, is like eating my favourite cake. Delicious. There you go. Hurry up, May 22. I can smell a two-stroke in your voice. I love the TT. These memories are priceless. Thank you, Kenny. And we can hear the lovely Christine in the background. We've had some nice shout outs for you, Christine, as well. We've had Donna Costello says, Kenny, Keith wants to know it's Christine not looking after you. He doesn't see a glass red of wine in your hand.
Only allowed water.
I'm only allowed water.
Yeah. We've actually got a picture of Mr. Costello with the two of you. Oh, no, it was with Mick, wasn't it? I think it was with Mick. Racing. Okay, so Christine, would you like to come in as well? You can join in the conversation. There she is, beautiful.
Hi.
Hello. How are you?
Yeah. Hi. Yeah.
And was Christine not in the top 3 at the TT one year as well?
No.
Yes, you were.
As revealed by Barry Wood.
I'm old now, you know. Memory's gone.
I'm too modest to mention it, really. Top 3 in the TT Supporters Club, yes.
Oh, might have been.
And there'll be a photograph up of it in the next couple of days to prove it as well.
Okay, look forward to that.
So, Christine, you've travelled with Kenny all over the world. You were saying today how you've had a wonderful life with Kenny, making memories in all sorts of different tracks around the world. And you showed the trophy cabinet, which hopefully you'll guide us through in a sec. You've got some amazing memories, from over the years from travelling with him.
Yes, fantastic. They've been very lucky.
And with Mick as well. So you go racing with Mick too now, don't you? All of you as spectators.
When Kenny stopped racing and went sailing, supposed to be so we could all go sailing together. Well, I just get seasick, so don't I? So Mick got stuck with having to take me.
Yeah, but he was well fed.
Yeah, well fed.
All right, Nick.
Nick Upton says, hello, Christine. You've had a few hellos there as well.
Hi, Nick. You all right?
So where do you enjoy going to watch the racing now, Kenny and Christine? What's your favourite spot?
Well, we like going to, the Isle of Man, obviously, because I used to sail over, and then Christine and Mick used to sleep on the boat, and then I'd sail it back again. But we like going to Ireland, don't we?
Yeah, we like
going to Ireland. The Isle of Man, Ireland. I like going the Southern 100 because you can walk around the Southern 100 and see everybody.
Great friendly races.
So it's a lovely meeting, the Southern 100. I've always liked the Southern.
We like T. Croix.
Yeah, Anglesey, T. Croix. It's a mini Phillip Island.
Yeah, it is.
It's lovely.
I went down to Watsat a year before last, the last time there was a race. I went to T. Croix for the first time in my life. I really enjoyed it down there.
That's a great place.
It's a lovely place.
And it's rare you would see me at a short circuit, but it was good. Really enjoyed it too.
Yeah.
It's our second home.
It is, yeah.
What do you think of the achievement of the boys getting an outfit round the Southern 100 course at over the 100?
Yeah, it's amazing.
It's unbelievable, yeah.
Unbelievable.
Fabulous.
Especially with all them stone walls so close. It's, yeah.
You felt them, haven't you?
I felt them, yes.
You've left your mark on them.
Yeah. I have, yes.
Yeah.
Especially the one at Stadium Corner. Yeah. I left a big mark on that one.
Yeah, our good friend Modest Maudsley, who was the commentator on the bypass, had the unique thing of getting the first 3 through. Reeves, John Holden, and the Birchalls. All 3 of them went down the bypass, and every one was over 100 mile an hour. Unbelievable.
Yes, fantastic.
Yeah, I was there then. Yeah, I went to that one.
Great.
So what when you're talking about when you went to the island, was it boarding house or back of van in the paddock?
And the first time we went, and we did we camped in a place called the Bull Ring or something. It's at the Southern 100.
Yeah.
We were under canvas. Yeah.
We had a few years at the TT in the tent, didn't we?
And a few years at the Isle of Man in the tent, when we used to have them frame tents that didn't stay up very well.
Went shopping for dinner one day and came back and the tent was in the chip and putt thing.
Gone.
Gone.
Yeah.
And then the sleeping things, blow up things, were floating through the paddock.
So I think after that we decided that we could afford a B&B. Yeah.
And luckily, our friends who we did stay with, very good friends, John and Sue Thompson, sadly passed away now. So 10 years today since Sue passed away. And we used to stay with them. We became very good friends.
The Beresford. The Clifton first.
Clifton first, and then they bought Beresford, the big hotel. And we had, everybody used to go there because all the sidecar lads were there. And lots of the competitors stayed there. And John used to, and Sue used to put us up there for free. That was their sponsorship towards the TT. Also, and whoever was Kenny's driver. Fabulous couple.
There was a great photograph always outside the Beresford when they won and done the 100-mile-an-hour lap, wasn't it? With all the windows painted up and stuff.
That's right.
Oh, amazing.
They had the pictures in the motorcycle news.
Yeah.
Yeah, of all the windows painted.
Beresford.
And then when they won the race, John and Sue came up to the paddock in a chauffeur-driven Rolls Royce with champagne to take us back to the hotel.
Fantastic.
Very exciting.
Yeah, it was very good.
That's the life, eh? That's the life.
No,
We've got some nice comments
memories.
here for the two of you. Steve Buckley says, hello, Christine and Kenny and Mick from the Pirates. We've got Anthony Adams says, hi, Chris. Looking forward to seeing you both. Lisa says, hello to you both. And then John Kashirski says, I bet there's never a dull moment with these two. Just awesome.
Sometimes.
Sometimes.
So do you fancy giving us a little tour of the trophies, Christine? Would you mind doing that?
You can see what they are.
You take the... Hang on, I'll put the lights on.
Yeah. Put them all on. Put the big ones on as well. So see where you can see.
Yeah. It's Peter Case. Put the big light on.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Wow.
What a privilege. What a privilege.
Those are when he first started, mostly in that cabinet.
There's a lot of club racing. And these are the Southern 100.
I don't know if you've
Ones
seen
are there.
That was my Finishers Award for the Southern. Finishers Awards. Come down a bit, Chris. Finishers Awards for the TT and my World Championship medal. That's my only sailing trophy. This one is for Rouen, when I won Rouen.
Oh, I don't know if
Chris.
you can see it. Hang on.
Hang on, up. No, that way. That's it.
That's
This
good.
one here is when I won Rouen. These are all from club championships. These down here are the Grand Prix. Come this way.
Magnificent.
These are all Grand Prix. More Grand Prix. That's for winning the Belgian Grand Prix. This one was for winning the German Grand Prix. Paul Ricard. Come down again this way. And there's all the Isle of Man ones.
They're his favourite.
Silver ladies.
Familiar.
All the ladies. These are all qualifying tiles for Holland. And the qualifying medals for the Southern 100. And these for winning the British Grand Prix. And then come down this way, Chris. And you've got to go down to the sword.
That's your favourite one. This is his favourite.
This is it. Oh, the old soda steak.
Incredible.
The Wilkinson sword.
Winning the
Hang
British
on.
Grand Prix.
That way.
Oh,
You got it?
Mm.
yeah.
That was for winning the British Grand Prix. I think it was it 1974, Kenny?
Yeah.
Put that light on. Yeah.
All right.
It's a genuine Wilkinson sword, actually. Yeah.
Cold steel.
Okay.
Wow.
That's enough.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. That was
You're very welcome.
absolute honour to. Wow. Yes.
From that side.
I'm a bit taken back by that, to be honest. That was
That's my
pretty
design
stuff.
when we built the house.
Yeah. Wow.
Oh,
what a
here's
great
Andy.
thing to do. That's such a great idea, isn't it?
That's
Put
a
it in
picture of Andy Jackson, who won the newcomers Manx.
Oh,
He's a young lad from the Wirral. Great young man.
Oh, yes,
yeah,
that's right.
yeah,
Yes,
that's
yeah.
right.
Yeah, he was down at T. Christ the day I was there winning, actually.
Yeah, we were there.
So we just had a comment from Anthony Adams. Says, I remember polishing those as a kid. I loved it.
He did.
Better get going again, Aunt. We need doing it again.
Yeah.
We've been done once in lockdown. That's all
we've got Samantha Lloyd says, what a fantastic cabinet. Helen Gibson says, Miss Kenny, Chris and Mick, hope the borders open safely soon. Andy Cruz says, absolutely amazing. Pete Forsyth says, looking forward to seeing Kenny, Christine and Mick back in Ireland again soon. Yeah. And Chris Moffat says, what a collection.
Yeah.
Wow. Boys, what a privilege that has been. Incredible,
yeah.
hey?
Welcome. Absolutely welcome.
Yeah, I feel very emotional. We'll have to bring you back on if you don't mind when we get Mick sorted.
Yes.
I'll have to bring you all back on again at some point. And there he is, the great man himself.
There's Mick. We'll have to feed him up a bit now. He looks off base since you went up.
Brilliant. Well, listen, Mr. and Mrs. Arthur, thank you so much for your time. Amazing stories and so much more to be told, I believe. So we would absolutely love for you to accept another invitation to come back on and share more of those stories. It'd be fantastic. With the handsome man himself, Mr. Mick Chatterton. Love to get you back on, sort your audio out. Yeah. Brilliant. Great. Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Christine, thank you for setting it up. It's been a pleasure.
Very nice.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye,
Roy.
Bye.
All the best.
Bye. See you again.
Take care.
Back to the grandstand.
Brilliant, boys, right? Absolutely brilliant.
It was worth waiting for, Hailey, wasn't it?
I know. Thank goodness for that. What a cabinet.
It's
incredible.
I think with the ease in which Kenny got into it, he must have been apprehensive. It seems daft saying that to a fella who's been round the TT Mountain course. That you're going to feel apprehensive about talking. But I hope it gives an insight into the many others who are more than capable of coming on here. Not the top men in their day, but just the stories that we've heard tonight. Very unbelievable.
Fantastic, yeah. I suspected that would be the case. I really enjoyed that, but I also know that Mick could keep you going for ages as well. And that's what we want.
We're going to get him back on, though. We have to get him back on. We've got so much to share, I'm sure, and between the three of them, too. Great. Listen, boys, it's been a pleasure. Thank you, Mick, for holding on and watching from backstage. Barry and Roy, we will see you again very, very soon. And I believe we've got Mr. Pat Sling coming on and joining us for a show very, very soon as well. So he's been involved in the chat this evening. Thank you, boys. I will see you soon.
Very welcome, Hailey. Good night.
Good night.
Take care. Thank you, everyone, for getting involved in the chat, for your questions. We still got lots of great comments here as well. Loving the episode. Carl Arthur said, great memories. Helen Gibson said, thank you so much. I really needed some Arthur time. And Sheila Williams says, lovely to see you both, Mr. and Mrs. Arthur. Hope we can do it in person soon. Andy Cruz says, such an interesting and informative evening. Thank you. It's our pleasure, Andy. Gary Williams says, hi, guys. What I can hear is great. Keep losing internet, though, up here. Thank you. It's wonderful. Amazing couple, Kenny and Christine. And best one yet, says Pete Forsyth. Thank you, everybody, for sticking with us. I know there was quite a delay there. We apologize, and we will be getting them back on for sure. We've got Funny feeling Kenny's definitely got more stories to tell. And Mick, we will get his audio sorted and invite him back on soon as well. So thank you. Share this with your friends. Tag them in. Share away. It is there on a replay. It's going to be on the YouTube channel forever now, so you can access again. You can rewatch. And also make sure that you subscribe to the YouTube channel, because it will support us in creating more content for you. And also send notifications to you when we do pop up live or post any new content. Thank you, and grateful for every single one of you. I'm Hailey Coxon, and this is the Spirit of Motorsport TV for episode 3 of Mountain Memories.